Now, I thought the conflict between the soldiers was only going to take about 5 minutes of this episode, but in fact it took about the first half of the episode, and I'm really thankful for that because I actually really appreciated the first half, even more than the second half, and the second half was fun, don't get me wrong, but I like seeing new perspectives in the show and just how different characters react to the situations that they're in. Sugimoto definitely would go over the top and super violent, but then we'll have soldiers who are a bit more tactical with how they were handling things, and I quite like the dynamic. I really think it was interesting how everything played out. Now, it would have been very easy to write the soldier winning this situation in a way that felt like he just won because he was the focal character, but in fact, he ends up taking out 2 soldiers with 1 bullet in an actually very interesting way. I mean, having your ear gnawed off by a bear, it's already a bad day to begin with, but then when you have your commander cut off your other ear and then threaten to cut your nose, you're having a bad day, I have to say, and you don't want to cross your commander-in-chief there. But I thought it was interesting how it was obviously a trap that was laid, but the thing with it is they took his only gun. As far as they know, and they have very good reasons to believe there was only 1 gun. They're in a village that was very poor. The only people who should have a gun would be the soldier, and the soldier doesn't have a gun anymore. But as we know, there was another gun stored, so it makes sense why you would willingly walk into a trap and set yourself open as target practice. Even though it's risky, there really was no risk, or there should be no risk, for 2 against 1, and they have guns, he doesn't. So the fact that he does get his 1 shot off, it obviously doesn't kill the other guy, but still, it makes sense why they got cocky, and why he was willing to shoot his gun off and put himself open for a target season, pretty much. I thought it was interesting. I thought they really handled it well. It gave a reason, like, it didn't just feel like the trap worked because this was the focal character for the moment. It was, no, it actually made sense. They had reason to believe there was no threat for them now that the bear ran off. And then just how all the other soldiers kind of played out there. It was interesting. I really appreciated how they directed it, and it felt very unique and different from what we expected with Golden Kamuy. But when it came to the second half of the episode, this is where the comedy and just the absurdity came into play, but also dropping in some major info about our girl's dad. The fact that supposedly her dad is the one who tattooed the prisoners and stole the gold, and that's interesting. If this turns out to be 100% true, no BS, family life got a bit more complicated here. But I did appreciate it just how polar opposite the second half was. The fact that the Escape King gets turned into a mermaid for a bit in the most unattractive way possible. Just the idea of bringing in the cooking again, even throwing in some cultural sprinkles here and there, showing what the skin of the fish can be used for, either clothing or delicious food. It was nice to see that, not to mention, given the Escape King, the smallest horse out of the batch there, the dude is just, he's a comic relief character, he really is, but he has a skill set that is so important for the show, and I just love how the Escape King is wrote as a character, because he would be very easy to just keep as the comic relief character. I mean, he constantly gets insulted as being useless, but he really is far from being useless. It's just his skill set is only useful in certain situations, but when it is useful, like breaking into a prison, or breaking out of something, he's very much the MVP of the episode. But I just like how the comedy focused in this episode, seeing the uncle pop in, breaking down the father's revelation that he was no hero, he was stealing the gold supposedly, tattooing the prisoners, and apparently he's the scariest of them all. It's interesting. I like how things are becoming a bit more clear, like the reason why someone can know her Japanese name if it really is her father in the prison. It's interesting. There's a lot of interesting twists and turns that this episode took, and it does make me curious how the last 2 episodes are going to play out, because as of right now, we only have 2 more episodes of the series. Could it get a second season? Maybe, but I feel like this could be a 1 season and we're done in the anime form, and it's obvious we're not going to conclude the story, but I'm interested with how the series will wrap up, at least for the first season, or possibly forever. Like, will it end with the father-daughter reunion and then learning what happened truly, and then we're just kind of setting off on our ways, or is it going to be a giant cliffhanger? I'm interested to see what they do. Obviously, I would like a second season, but I think if it does have to end at 12 episodes, even though we obviously won't reach our destination, get the gold, return it to the Ainu people, get their share, I think I would still look at this show in a positive light because it was an adventure. We saw a lot of personalities, a lot of interesting little stories and just character arcs that you wouldn't necessarily see in an anime, at least modern day. So I think I'd be fine, even if this was an unsatisfying conclusion, which is something I normally wouldn't say with an anime that ends inconclusively. But this episode was definitely fun. I like how it was balanced once again. I really just appreciate when the culture does get sprinkled in, learning a bit more about the Ainu culture. even if it's just like a 30-second thing, like explaining how the fish skin works either for clothing or for food. I like how they sprinkle that in, throw the absurd comedy in, and then also just balance some more serious aspects to the show as well. It's just an interesting balance. I'm really going to miss the show when it ends, but if it does have to end at 12 episodes, we don't get another season, I think I would still look at this in a very positive light, and maybe I'll check out the manga depending on how I feel when the anime does end. But let me know what you're feeling. What did you think of the episode, how it was balanced overall? What was your favorite aspect? Did you enjoy the first half of the episode of the soldiers more, or did you prefer the stuff with Sugimoto and the gang in the second half? Let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you're new, also be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.